the amount of untruth that is happening, and there's no accurate coverage. And the accurate coverage that does come from people like yourself, from Ava Bartlett, from, Alina Lip, from Wyatt Reade, that are on boots on the ground in the Donbass region, as well. Those reporters get death threats. Like Patrick Lancaster had his whole family threatened. He got sanctioned. He got demonetized. Same thing, Wyatt Reade got demonetized. So the tactics the West used to cling to this narrative is, when there's real journalism, they'll, try to shut it down. And I know you and Pasta went through your own struggles with Convo Couch when you were, talking about things people didn't want to talk about, right? They went after, the monetization and things like that, censoring.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's been happening for a while, and it's gotten a lot worse now, but it was going to happen. And this is why we have a Rockfin, and we started focusing on getting people towards Rockfin, and we continue to do that because, I mean, you can't rely on YouTube when they literally just censor entire networks, right? Like RT, when they if an entire network can't fight YouTube, there's really little chance of anybody else, because they're not operating on good faith. They're not operating based on rules that are fair and just. They're operating based on what the narrative control. And this is what really irks me when people say we have, you work for Russia state affiliated media, you do what Putin tells you. Putin doesn't tell me to do anything. I have a lot of jurisdiction as to what I want to say. I have made corrections. I have made changes. I don't just, read whatever they tell me to read. When it comes to that, and when it comes to a lot of the corresponding, if there are videos and packages, I write them. So I mean, there's there's a lot of things that are said that I think are completely false. But also, when RT, for example, covers a story, whether it's Palestine and Israel, they are very careful to show both sides, even if personally a lot of the journalists feel a certain way about it, which, I mean, a lot of us are pro-Palestinian, and I'm speaking for myself now, but specifically me, yeah. I obviously, I don't believe in the Israeli occupation. I think what's being done is genocide. And obviously I don't say that because they're trying to show they'll have an Israeli person on, they'll have a Palestinian person on, but but it's like everybody has an inherent bias, like I can't go around saying that, I'm going to be 100%, objective 100% of the time, because as a person, I believe there is wrong and there's right. So, but when I'm working in the context of, when I have to interview people, I'm going to have to interview people I don't like. I'm going to have to interview people that, and you can push back against those people, right? You can literally ask certain questions, but But to say that, that we have free media in the United States really irks me, because it's like, no, we don't, because the media is literally an arm of the government. It is a tool of the government. It was supposed to be a tool of the people. And they basically flipped that and turned it into a tool of the government. And it's just straight up propaganda that, Twitter is on paper a private company, but we know that they sit in meetings with the government. So does Facebook and Meta. And Mark Zuckerberg has just admitted that because the FBI told him to, things we already knew, he finally admitted that the FBI told him to suppress the stories about Hunter Biden's laptop. That's what they're telling you. Imagine what they're not telling you. And that's what people need to understand. You can lie to yourself all you want and say, yes, we have free press and we live these companies are private and they can do whatever they want. And if you don't like it, you don't have to participate. It's like, okay, but they're not private. They're merged with the government. And that's the definition of fascism. And so that's where the United States is headed. And the West, the UK and the EU are headed in most of these countries, because that's exactly what's happening. It's a merger of corporate and the state. And so you can say that, Russia's still state affiliated media all you want, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that are persecuting and prosecuting journalists, particularly Julian Assange, for exposing this very thing, this very nefarious affair that is within the military industrial intelligence apparatus. And I mean, why would you pursue him and try to prosecute him and give him almost 200 years in jail for being a journalist, right?
And a publisher, yeah. I mean, and you know, and he's not even a U.S. citizen, and they're trying to punish him
No.
under the Espionage Act. He's Australian anyway. Not only that, but then, you know, all the malfeasance that has come to light about them planning to assassinate him, the U.S. intelligence, I mean, cooperating with British intelligence, and also in talking about having a shootout in the Britain streets. It's unbelievable. Like, that alone should have gotten it. And then
Yeah.
recording conversations between him and his attorney, which is highly illegal internationally and under international law. And for that alone, it should also be dropped. I don't know. You know, you bring up a lot of really good points. I know my experience with RT has always been very positive, and I had complete freedom. Everything I said, you know, I mean, you know, I was doing opinion pieces, so I was doing writing as well. And my podcast was originally produced by them. But I had complete freedom. They never censored me at all. In fact, Lee Camp, who worked with them for almost 8 years, said it was the freest he's ever been. Like, you could never find a media company in the United States or in the West that would allow you that much creative freedom to do your work, whatever that is. And
no,
you
you
know,
couldn't.
so they're sorely missed. They're censored here, but you know, Great Britain went a step further and they pulled their license, which I still think it's illegal. Like, I don't even know how they're justifying.
And they sanctioned some of the people that work for RT, some of the presenters. And they go and they get the media, which of course the British media is one of the worst, to hound their families and who have nothing to do with it, to threaten to fire their family members. I mean, this is how awful the West has been. And for what? Because somebody has a job and they're doing their job and they're presenting the news in an outlet that you don't like. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. And the United States has no foot to stand on when it comes to press freedom, when it comes to anything remotely about justice or anything like that. And that's the government. And, you know, and I can ardently say I oppose the government because it's not representative of the people. And that was the whole point of the Declaration of Independence, was to oppose a government that was tyrannical. And a lot of people have lost a notion of that, right? And of course, the United States was created on the backs of slaves and on exploitation and on imperialism. But there was a lot of things that were brought by from the Enlightenment, from the Renaissance, from these ideas of liberty and justice that you could still grab and say, okay, these were the right ideas. And you could take those ideas, but those ideas are gone in the United States as it exists now. And the people who call themselves patriots need to understand that patriotism is supporting the people, your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, against a tyrannical government. It's not supporting your government all the time when they're wrong. And there has to be some understanding of that, because the only people that can really hold the US accountable are the American citizens, really, and then the way it needs to be done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on every point.